Some of the biggest mistakes people make when they start selling on eBay and Amazon. I keep seeing the same type of patterns. Either, a lot of it has to do with the person. Okay, either you have a product that won't sell on eBay or Amazon, or it will sell like crazy. And what usually happens is the person who can't get the item to sell, psychologically, sometimes they get defeated. They think, oh shit, I can't make this thing sell. And they sort of quit instead of being proactive and finding a different product or seeing what they did wrong, listing the item. And then when you have the guy who sells a lot, like he has an item that sells like crazy, it doesn't usually happen on eBay anymore, unless you already have an account with a history on it. But like if you have an eBay account that you actually sold on in the past, then you can sometimes have this happen where you start selling like crazy. And that's probably what is going to happen at this Christmas season with some sellers, is they're going to sell like crazy some things. But if you're a new seller and you start selling things like crazy, you don't sort of see what's going on. You don't see the forest from the trees, and you don't want to sell a ton of the same item over and over quickly on a new account, either Amazon or eBay, because generally speaking, they'll eventually shut you down simply because you're selling like crazy on a new account. They don't know who you are. So the trick is to sort of come at it as in a scientific manner, where you're trying to just find products that sell good, but you're not trying to sell it like crazy right this minute, but you're just trying to get some sales going, and you're trying to test the waters. So you take a product, you test it. If it doesn't sell, try to fix it, the ad. If it doesn't work, you got a new product. You start selling that. Let's say it sells really good. And the whole thing is that when you got this new product that's selling good, you have to go through the whole stages from beginning to end to make sure everything works right, to make sure the customer's happy, to make sure you're making profit, to make sure everything is going right. It gives you good feedback. And all these things need to be taken into consideration, especially on eBay and Amazon these days, because it's not like the old days where you could do whatever you wanted. These days you have to maintain really good feedback, make sure your customers are happy, and that everything's going good. So when you have product A, it didn't sell good, you chuck it. Even though you have to at least try to make it sell good. If you can't get it to sell good, maybe you don't know what you're doing. 50% of the time it's that. 50% of the time it's just a product that doesn't sell well because the price is wrong or whatever, and maybe you can't get it for a cheaper price. Who knows? But at least half the time it's because the person doesn't know what he's doing. So you actually should make sure you know how to sell. And I know it sounds kind of funny saying it that way, but there are actually books that teach you how to sell, and there's also people like me who have videos that teach you how to sell. Or if you sign up for my coaching, I can show you how to sell. But part of it's that. The other part is just it might not be a good product to sell. You don't have enough profit margin or whatever. And in that case, maybe you could find a better source, or maybe it's just not a popular item. And of course, it doesn't make a lot of sense to waste your time on non-popular items, because it can become cumbersome if you have thousands of non-popular items that make hardly any money. It's sort of a waste of your time. Rather have 10 highly popular items that make huge, significant percentage of profit on each sale. That makes a lot more sense. Sell one item rather than selling 20 items to get the same amount of money. So at first you have to start out slow on a new account and steadily build the amount of sales and the amount of items you're selling. The reason why is because eBay and Amazon approach it as if they don't know who you are. They don't know if you're a scumbag. They don't know if you're a rip-off artist. They don't know if you're a saint. They don't know who you are, so they're going to trust you little by little. At first, they're going to just give you a little leeway, you know, very restricted kind of thing, and then let you build up. And as they see that your customers are happy, that everything's going fine, they'll trust you more. And then you add a new product, and you expand on that, and then they see that you're doing good with that, they trust you more, and you just keep going. And the trick, also another factor to this, is it's good for you to start out slow and build your way up as well, because usually you have to make sure everything goes right. You have to, even if the product makes money, if the customer is pissed off, it doesn't work. Or if you don't know how to, if you don't have it streamlined so that you're answering emails properly, or you're not shipping it in good times, or whatever, you have to you got to get the whole thing cleaned up, figured out, running right. And then also, of course, it's wise to look at if you're missing something. Can I sell this for a higher price and make more money? I might make a little bit less sales, but maybe I'll make more money overall. Also, can you get it cheaper from your supplier? Maybe get a different supplier. So all these things have to be taken into consideration when you're doing this. Okay. Now, another factor is we're coming up on Christmas sales here in the next couple weeks. It's going to start going crazy around Black Friday. And eBay sort of puts the whole we're going to monitor you steadily increase thing aside, because they already know everybody's going to sell like bonkers at this time of year. So they kind of give you even more play in there. So if you're a new seller and you sell like crazy at Christmas, it's not going to get you shut down per se. But if you do it at any other time of the year, it will. See what I mean? So it's all sort of a political thing, and you have to understand their mind. And all this has to do with understanding what people are thinking, what eBay's thinking, what Amazon's thinking, what your customer's thinking, what everybody's thinking. Okay, so if you understand your customer, you know how to get the product to them, you know how to advertise it to them in a way that maybe your competitors didn't think of, being in a certain category, having a certain keywords in the title that your competitors didn't think about, but that your customers are thinking when they go and do a search, things like that. So it's you only can make yourself better by understanding your customer better and understanding who you're working with better. With eBay and Amazon, there's no love. You know, it's just platforms you can sell on. You're just a number. They don't give a shit. You know what I mean? This isn't like a mom and pop operation. Amazon and eBay are just mega huge companies that have a particular approach that they take, and I just told you what it is. They trust you little by little. That's how they approach it, and they believe the customer over you. Okay, unless you are somehow convincing when you talk to them on the phone. And if you are in a situation where you get suspended and you are good at talking to people and convincing them, I would suggest you should call them up and make sure you have it explained in a manner to where you come out on top. So this is what I'm saying. You know, if they trust the customer over you, don't be surprised if once in a blue moon you get ripped off. Okay, so you need to factor that into your profit margins. So that's why it's wise to have big profit margins and not to sell piddly bullshit that makes you no money. Okay, or expensive bullshit that makes you no money, because that sucks too. There's no point in selling something expensive where you have no profit margin. You have to look at it as a risk to profit ratio. Okay? Absolutely no relevance in selling something that makes you very little money. You have to look at the amount of profit you have compared to the price. You know, if you're making, after everything's said and done, after you've paid everybody off, if you're making 10%, that's not bad. And that isn't bad, because you would have to have a profit margin of about 25% to make 10%. Okay, so if you sell something for 125 and bought it for 100, you probably got about a 10% margin, because you have to pay 10 to 15% to eBay or Amazon for the sale. So you should be trying to compete with eBay and Amazon and having at least as high of a profit margin as they get, because they're between 10 and 15%. So you should be making 10 to 15%. So there's a 20 to 30% markup minimum right there. See what I'm saying? And actually, if you can make more, the more the better, right? If you can mark it up 100%, awesome. You know, if you can double what you paid for it, of course you're not going to get exactly double, because eBay and Amazon are going to take their piece. And there's also, of course, at this time of year, all the price comparison engines: Bing, Google Shopping, Amazon Ads, Price Grabber, and a host of other ones. And based on a lot of research I did, I've done videos on this as well. A lot of these companies hike up their price comparison costs this time of year. So what I'm saying is, actually, it's sort of like the Grinch. It is actually. It's a lot like the Grinch that stole Christmas, right? What happens is if you end up using Price Grabber this time of year, you get screwed. You get Scrooged because they end up doubling their fees. And just so happens when they double their fees, you make no money. Isn't that cool? Isn't that awesome? It's like the best thing ever, isn't it? You make no money, they make a shit ton of money. Everybody lives happily ever after. So, you have to be smart this time of year. See, they assume people are creatures of habit, which you are. So if you're using Price Grabber all year long and then all of a sudden Christmas comes, they expect you to keep on using them. And just let them dig in there and get all the money. Isn't that awesome? So I suggest that you very much pay attention this time of year to your price comparison engines like Google AdWords via or in conjunction with Google Shopping, depending on which way you do it. If you do it with Google Shopping, you have a data feed via Google AdWords. It used to be awesome. It used to be free. And of course, free is always the best. I made a shit ton of money off Google Shopping when it was free. I've made a lot of money off AdWords as well, but that's not free. I would say if you have a website and you're selling standard consumer electronics, the wisest way is Google Shopping in conjunction with AdWords via data feed rather than Google AdWords on its own, because Google AdWords on its own is not exactly good. Let's just put it that way. That's my impression. You have also Bing Shopping, and you don't really get anything free from it anymore, just a little bit. I don't want to get into all the explanation of what it is. It has something to do with the natural search, but they have paid inclusion as well. There are free ones. The Find.com, Shopwiki.com are still free. Shopwiki might get you some traffic. The Find might get you some traffic, a little bit of traffic. They're not exactly huge like Bing Shopping and Google Shopping, and those two used to be free. And then you got Price Grabber. Like I said, they screw you, hose you at this time of year. Amazon Ads tends to rank really well. I would look into that one. There's other ones like Shopzilla and all these other ones. I did a video showing which ones were the best, and I'm not trying to get into all that here, but I'm just saying look at the numbers, see if they double the fees. Don't be an idiot. Turn it off. It's not worth your time if they double the fees. Just think about it. I mean, the standard approach is you have a product, Amazon gets their cut, you get your cut. Hopefully you get as big of a cut as they get, right? The same is the case with your own website. If you're using a price comparison engine with your own website, they should only be getting like 10-15%, and then you get like 10-15%. If they're taking 30%, what the hell? Unless you're selling something kick-ass that has like a double, unless it's some small item that's just a little fad thing that you can get for super cheap from China, it's not worth it. You know what I mean? If it's something you can get from China for super freaking cheap, then of course it doesn't matter. Use Price Grabber to your heart's content. But if it's something that has like a sort of a small frame of profit, yeah, turn it off this time of year. I'm sure people will find your ad anyways, because there's going to be things going sold out, and as soon as they're sold out, they're going to be desperate. They're going to be looking all through Google, 15 pages of Google to find someone who has the freaking item, and they'll buy from you. So of course you'll get less sales, but as soon as that shit goes out of stock, they're going to be on your site. Let's just put it that way. I don't know. I just thought I'd talk about kind of, if you're on a new account, how to approach eBay and Amazon. And then also I kind of wanted to hit on the whole Christmas sales thing. And, I try to do these videos to where they're relevant. I don't want to just get on here and just talk bullcrap, you know what I mean? I want to actually talk about something relevant here. With eBay and Amazon, like I said, you got to be scientific about it. one product at a time. If you can do 2 or 3 products at a time. Whatever you can monitor. The point is you monitor it, make sure it runs right. Make sure you get it completely running right, and then you start expanding on that one particular item and advertise it more and more. On eBay particularly, once you got the item selling right, you know the customer's happy, you're making a profit, it sells good, every blah, blah, blah. Once the whole thing's running right, what you can do is you can double, triple, quadruple your sales by putting it in new categories, adding new keyword terms to the title, listing it on multiple days, sometimes even more than one time a day, varying the titles into categories daily so that you don't have the same thing listed 100 times, which sometimes works, but a lot of people will do that. They'll just keep listing it with the same title and the same category, and that's not exactly optimized, you know what I mean? So, and you can do that with Amazon as well. You can do that with Amazon as well, because sometimes they'll have like 4 listings for the same item on Amazon, and you can also make your own listing. And you can sometimes double list on one single ad on Amazon. Like, let's say it's product A, and there's like 3 different product A pages on Amazon. You could double list on each page, and it actually helps. You could double list on each page. I have some of my sellers doing that. And you could also have more than one Amazon account and then do more listings for it. You see what I mean? And then there's also the color and variations. So if you got a product that's selling really good, get a different color, get a different variant of the same type of item. And list as many times as you can. If you're just listing color black for the standard version, and there's black, blue, red, green, orange, and matte black or whatever, and then there's like, 4 different models that are very similar, that's 4 times, 6. That's 24 times potentially the power compared to that one ad you had. 24 times the power, you see what I mean? So this is the kind of stuff you got to think about. You just have to sit there, and then you have to sit down and analyze it and try to max it out and be very scientific about the whole thing. And this is how you can grow an eBay and Amazon account. And you have to be very careful at first. Try to avoid any disputes. If there's any issues with the customer, be very apologetic and nice to your customer, and don't give a refund the first second something goes wrong. Okay, that's what a newbie mistake, very common newbie mistake. Sometimes it can be very simple, like if it's delayed in shipment, just explain to them why, and then in the next ad that you create, make sure you list that it takes longer to get to the customer. You know what I mean? Like if it's an item that takes a week to get there and you put 3 days, next time make sure you put a week so that they know up front it takes a week. If the customer says something's missing, try to get them the piece. You don't have to give them a refund. And you definitely don't give them a refund before they send it back, because they're threatening you to give you negative feedback or some bullshit like that, because then you'll give them the money back and they'll still give you a negative because they're probably a scammer, because scammers do that. They'll threaten you, get their money back, keep the item, and give you a negative just because they're bastards. You know what I mean? So, anyway, hope that helps somebody out there.